Hi everyone. A great way to introduce a concept to children is through stories. This is a beautiful story about Anzac Day. My granddad marches on Anzac Day. On Anzac morning, we get up really early. It's still dark. We drive in the dark and park the car. We put on our coats. It's always cold. We wait at the memorial for the sun to come up. There are sad poems and singing, and we say, "Lest we forget." A bugle plays a lonely song, then guns fire at the sky. Once, twice, 3 times. Makes me jump and scares the seagulls. Later, we have cake and hot chocolate to warm us up. We find our spots for the parade. Daddy gives me a badge, just like this. I sit on Daddy's shoulders. It's a very long wait, but my granddad will come. My granddad marches on Anzac Day. He wears his best jacket and his shiny medals on his chest. He doesn't have very much hair on his head, but he does have a big moustache. Grandad knows where we will be waiting. He smiles at me. Lots of people are marching, their legs all moving in time. Some of them play music. I feel their drums boom in my chest. Grandad marches with his friends. He remembers when they were young. He remembers when he was young. He marches for all his friends who can't march. He marches for us. Some people can't walk. Some are pushed in wheelchairs. Some ride in cars. We clap and we wave as they go past. "Well done, boys," my dad calls out. They smile shyly and look pleased. Once, long ago, there was a war, my daddy says. Many soldiers fought and died in a place called Gallipoli. Some were from Australia and some from New Zealand. They were all called Anzacs. They died in places with names like the Neck, Lone Pine and Anzac Cove. Their mums and dads waited, but they never came home. My granddad marches to remember them. My granddad wasn't there. My granddad was in a different war. That's where he earned his medals. After the parade, my daddy says, "I'm proud of you, mate," to Grandad. He has tears in his eyes. Grandad is quiet. He's still remembering. One day, I will march on Anzac Day, and I will do the remembering.
Anzac Day is a special time to remember people who have died in wars. It is commemorated in towns and cities around Australia and New Zealand on the 25th of April every year. The word Anzac stands for Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. On Anzac Day, people gather in the dark before dawn at their local war memorial. When the sun starts to rise, the dawn service begins. They say prayers and sing hymns, and there is a reading of the 4th verse of a poem called For the Fallen. Later in the morning, other community groups join the war veterans and they parade down the street. The war veterans wear the medals they received for being brave in dangerous times. They all march to the war memorial and lay down wreaths of flowers. Between 1914 and 1918, many countries were at war. This is now called World War I, and it is when the Anzac tradition began. Gallipoli is a famous place in Turkey where Anzac troops landed on the 25th of April 1915, and many of them died. Every year, thousands of Australians travel to Gallipoli to attend the dawn service there on Anzac Day. They are joined by many people from other countries, including New Zealand and Turkey, to remember the people who died in the war. There have been other wars since World War I. There are very few granddads left from that war, but there are granddads and grandmas, mums and dads and aunts and uncles who served in other wars, and they all marched together on Anzac Day. Miss Morgan and I would like you to discuss with your family how they commemorate Anzac Day every year. This year is going to be different, so maybe you can just talk about memories. Have a lovely holiday. Take care of each other. Be kind to everybody, and we'll see you next term.